everyone. This is Aaron for Sola Network, and I am here today with Izzy Koo. Izzy, I'm so happy to be talking to you. I think it's kind of interesting how we got connected. It was Pastor Steve that connected us, actually, Pastor Steve, and I knew about you from your interview with Sujin over on Sola. And yeah, I'm really happy to be looking at your new 8-week teen Bible study guide. Yeah, I wanna hear about this. But then also, like, I don't know if you know this about me, but one thing that I'm sure that there's a lot of differences between you and me, but one thing that we do have in common is a love for youth. And that's what I want to talk about today. I'm really excited to be talking to you about this. Can you introduce yourself a little bit more and your study guide and your book to us as well?
Yeah, thank you for the introduction. It's great to be back. My name's Izzy Koo. I'm a current junior right now at Pepperdine University studying English and religion, and I hope to go into youth ministry in the future. And yeah, a little bit about me. I guess I wrote my first book, Finding God, Finding Me, a little while ago when I was 16 years old, just because of just a radical encounter I had with Jesus that absolutely changed my life. And from there, I've just been so invested in the youth and the next generation. So I've been speaking at a lot of different events, different churches, but also working on this Bible study guide that just got released this summer, which is really exciting. And it's just a 8-week experience for teenagers to go on a journey with God and really find their identity in Christ. And it's kind of a spin-off and supplement to my first book, and it uses some of the similar ideas, but it's a workbook style, so teens can gather together in groups and really go on a journey to get to know God better and get to know themselves better as well.
Yeah, it's super ambitious, and I think you did a great job of putting it out there. Um, your study guide mentioned a lack of youth pastors and counselors, and I think that was kind of like maybe part of the reason why you wanted to put that out there. Can you tell us a
Yeah.
little bit more about what you meant by that? And maybe, I don't know, tell me what your experience was.
Yeah, it's a good question. In my experience, just growing up in Washington, there hasn't been an abundance, right, just of youth pastors, but not only youth pastors, but also youth leaders, youth mentors. And I was privileged enough when I was in high school to have just a brilliant youth pastor who also doubled as my mentor at the time. And her mentorship in my life changed everything for me because her mentorship included just her encouragement in my life. She saw me, she heard me, but she also just believed in me. And she called me to not only who I thought I could be, but who God really called me to be. And she helped me to step into that. And that's kind of how that first book was written too, through her guidance. And so I just had a lot of mentorship in my life. I feel like that was really crucial for me to in my just walk with God. And what I'm seeing now with kind of, the younger generation, including my two sisters who are 15 and 11, just a lack of mentorship in their lives. They don't have youth leaders, let alone just college students and just young adults who are invested in their lives. And I think I just really see a need for that just because of the way it impacted me. And I know that these young people, they're so gifted and they have all these capabilities and talents. They just need somebody to call them into who they can be. And so, yeah, that's kind of what I mean by, yeah, a lack of youth pastors and leaders that I see.
No, I hear you. Okay, I want us to go deeper into that. Okay, so
Yeah.
people, okay, yeah, let's say that some other person like recognizes that and is like, yeah, there's a lack of youth pastors, youth counselors, but not a lot of teens will go and write a study guide to like to solve that problem. What was it
Mhm.
that made you like kind of do that? Like, what was it where you were like, okay, this is a good solution for it, or maybe not a solution, but this is something that
Right.
you could do.
Yeah. Oh, I remember I was talking to my mom one day and I was just like, mom, I'm just so discouraged. There's no youth leaders. Like, where are all the mentors? Like, I want my sisters, I want the youth to be invested in. And I remember my mom just looked at me and she was like, if you don't see youth leaders or mentors around you, you be that mentor, right? And if you
Mm,
don't see curriculum and if you don't see resources that you want to use, make your own, right? And she kind of just said
mm,
it plainly like that. And I remember thinking, oh, kind of that's not what I was expecting to hear. But I really took my mom's advice to heart and I realized, yeah, this is like my church, my youth, and then my sisters that we're talking about. If I
mm,
don't see, what I want to see available for them, I guess I'll have to take on the task of creating it. And
mm.
I really felt God was leading me towards that direction. And so what I did was I took my book and I took my own experience with God and I just literally wrote in a notebook just a bunch of ideas, a bunch of questions, discussion things, and basically wrote a mini version of a curriculum. And I got my sister together with her friends. I was like, Olivia, who are two of your friends that really want to get to know God better? And she had two girls. We met at a coffee shop, and for the whole summer, we just met together every single week. I bought them treats and drinks, and we just went through these questions, right? And just had discussion with each other. And it was transformational, not only for me, but for them. And just that for them to have a mentor figure in their lives, an older sister, right? Somebody who really wanted to care for them and also wanted to read scripture with them and all these things. And because it went so well, there was a couple other youth at my church who were asking, hey, can we do the study with you? Right. And I was like, oh, maybe I can turn this into an actual curriculum that, churches and youth groups can use. So that's kind of how the study guide came about. It was just that notebook, those scribbles that turned into kind of what you're holding in your hands now. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's awesome. I think it's so inspiring to hear that you actually like took action on it, like you weren't just like, I don't know, complaining or like just venting,
Right.
but you were actually like wanting to help, and not only were you just like kind of like talking about like big picture stuff, but you looked in your home and you're like,
Mhm.
hey, you actually cared enough for your own sisters to
Yeah.
have like that type of, I guess, mentorship, discipleship even, I guess.
Right.
And I think that's something that I can sense just from reading it, is that you
Mhm.
care deeply about the upcoming generation. Yes, it's your sisters for sure, but I
Yeah.
mean, it's bigger than that.
Right.
And what I appreciate is that it's not like I didn't get the sense that you were like looking down on them. And that's what I want to ask you on here. Your study guide, I feel like it does tackle some mature topics, like
Mm.
I think you start kind of easy, easing them into
Yeah.
it. But there's one that stood out to me, and you said that, hey, you started talking about patience, and
Yeah.
you said that the way we perceive people or just our perspective on different things that affects us in how we are patient towards people,
Yeah.
or patient towards situations. And to me,
Mhm.
as an old guy, I was like, man, that's good. That's good. I need that in my life. And so I want to ask you, how do you see youth handling what I
Mhm.
consider to be these more mature topics? Are they mature topics to you, or is it just normal topics for you? Like, how do you see them wrestling with
Yeah.
these things and working this out in their lives?
Yeah. I think I really took experience from my own experience, right, of encountering God. One of the first things that I found when I found God was patience, right? I used to be a really impatient person, and struggled a lot with that, especially in my relationship with my sisters, for example. And so what I found in my relationship with God was God really changed my perspective on that because he gave me his perspective on people, right? How do you see people in the lens of God? How do you see people in the lens of love? And so I guess when you say it like that, it could sound like a mature topic, but I think at the end of the day, every teen struggles with patience at some level, right? And the
Hmm.
question is, how do we become more patient in our lives and kind of switching our perspective? That's the answer that I found for my life,
Hmm.
and my story. And I don't know, after I did my study guide with my middle sister and her friends, I also did it with my youngest sister, who was only in fifth grade at the time, and with
Wow.
a couple of her fifth grade friends.
Wow.
And they absorbed it all, even the patience one, right? I remember one of the girls in my group really struggled to show patience to her older sister, right? And she was able to vocalize that to me. And I was like, okay, let's try changing your perspective. And it kind of radically altered the way that she thought, even as a fifth grader, right? And so I think the topics are mature, but youth are more capable than we know, and they're
Hmm.
ready to absorb these difficult topics and really apply them to their lives.
Yeah. So as young as fifth grade, I didn't even catch that. That's incredible. That's incredible. Um, when you were writing this, you said that your study guide is best used in a small group. I think that's what you meant. Now you said that you can do it like, I guess, individually, just on your own. But I want to ask you why you felt the need to emphasize the small group aspect of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good question. I think everything is better in community, but especially as a youth, and especially the youth that I know in the area that I live, I think they just need to know that there are other youth that are also seeking God. The journey can often feel very lonely. For me, I felt that way when I was going through my relationship with God and kind of seeking Him. At school, I didn't have any Christian friends, right? I had some at church, but I felt very lonely in my walk. And an important part of a youth's walk with God is the accountability of knowing that there's other people, not
Hmm.
only to just keep them accountable, but to encourage them in their own journey. And so I find the group settings very, very beneficial. There's great discussion that happens, lots of vulnerability, but also a lot of accountability as well. And those girls that did this study together, they're going to stay with each other. We still talk in our group chat, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of power in just a small group. So yeah, I encourage anybody to do this study, to do it in a group of your friends, right? People, community.
No, that's awesome. The way I see it is that I feel like you're pushing more for discipleship,
Mm,
and having, because the way you structure is that like there is supposed to be like a leader, in the group
right.
working through the study guide. Like I think the point was like as me holding the study guide, I'm like leading a group of people or whatever, and I felt that that was more of a discipleship aspect, which I think is great.
Yeah.
You even at the end you say like, hey, now after you've done this study, you need to go and like do it with other people. I think that's awesome. I think that's
Yeah.
great that you're kind of pushing people a little bit more out of their
Yeah.
comfort zones. Maybe
Yeah.
something that you actually like feel driven to.
Right.
So
And I
Izzy,
and I think
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I think the discipleship part is really important though, having a leader to lead, right? And I think when we think of leader, it's easy to think of youth pastor, right?
Mm,
Ministry
mm,
leader,
mm,
older adult. But
mm,
I really want to emphasize that a leader is anyone who has a testimony of Jesus and who loves God,
mm,
right? So that can be an older youth student, right? That's high schoolers, college students, young adults. These are the people that I also see leading this study. And a lot of college and young adults have a lot of apprehension going into these things. Oh, I'm not ready. I'm not qualified. I don't know enough about God. But I believe that you just need your testimony of Jesus and you need to know God. And if you have those two things, you are equipped to lead this study because God will equip you to what he's called you to do.
mm,
And so I love what you said about the discipleship part, because that is a huge part, I think, of why I created this guide as well.
mm. Izzy, I want to go off script for a second, okay? So
Yeah.
this is a off question. I want to ask you, like, what have been some of the biggest joys of this coming out? Like, what have you been
Yeah.
encouraged with it at all?
Yeah, I think it's been so encouraging. First of all, just this coming out in general, right? I didn't have any experience writing curriculum or anything like that. This was
Mm,
really just a God-given dream. I feel like last summer when I went through this study with my sisters and their friends, and now to see it come to fruition, and now those girls that I went with this through the study with, now they're older and they're so much more grown in their faith. And
mm,
what I envision for them is for them to take this study and now lead other youth with it. And so I'm just seeing so much growth. And those girls who've been asking, can we do this study with you? I'm now this summer going to lead some of those groups, right?
mm,
And it's just really exciting being able to have a physical copy of something like this and being able to lead more groups through just this transformational experience that I believe that they can have through this Bible study guide. So
yeah.
many joys. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is based off of God's word. I love it. Izzy, I want to end with one more question, and I think that you're in a special position to be able to answer this just because of your work and your passion here. What do you see God doing, or how is He working in this upcoming generation? Really, the generation that you're ministering towards.
Yeah, it's such a great question. I think God is doing so much. And the one thing I want to say is that these youth, this next generation is so extraordinary in so many ways, right? They're so gifted, they're so kind, they're so talented, and they're just great people. They're beyond just great youth, they're great people.
Mm,
And I think what I want to see now going forward is people like us, right? Leaders and people who are older really investing in this next generation because they have everything they need. They have the talents, the gifts. God has equipped them with all of those things. Now they just need someone to call them, right, to who they can be and have them step into their God-given identity. And these are the leaders that are going to change the world. And so I'm excited, just witnessing and seeing and being, a champion of youth, seeing all that they're capable of. And I hope that the world is able to see it too.
oh, that's awesome, Izzy. This
Yeah.
is Finding You, an 8-week teen Bible study guide. Izzy, thanks so much for your time. I'm happy that we got to talk, and I'm very, honestly, I'm blessed by the work and seeing what you're doing. It's inspiring, and I'm excited to see what else God does with you and your ministry. Thank you. Sola Network exists to influence the emerging generation of Asian Americans and those who lead them with the gospel of Jesus Christ. Find our articles, book reviews, podcasts, and more at sola.network. If you would like to partner with Sola Network through collaboration, networking, volunteering, or giving, please contact us through the website.